Tonight, deep cuts to benefits.
Are you in panic mode, Chancellor?
Welfare slashed and even more money for defence as the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, warns forecasts for growth in the UK economy are poorer than thought.
People are stressed and it's worse as it is now and more cuts are coming.
Also making the headlines, period penalties. Scottish badminton star Kirsty Gilmour calls for rule changes after she was yellow carded for leaving court to deal with her period.
No person with a uterus wants to stand in front of a few thousand people and tell a person with a microphone that they are actively bleeding.
And police camera action. Police Scotland officers are now wearing body cameras. I'm John Mackay. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. More money for defence, but deep cuts to benefits. These were the main announcements from the Chancellor Rachel Reeves' spring statement today. There's also a warning the forecast for growth in the UK economy is poorer than thought. Here's our Westminster correspondent, Paris Gurtsianis.
Are you in panic mode, Chancellor?
When Labour took power, Rachel Reeves said economic growth was her #1 goal.
This Labour government was elected to bring change to our country.
But people at this jobs fair for women in Glasgow don't feel things are changing for the better.
I think in terms of looking for a job, it's been getting worse because it's so hard, and I have heard that from a lot of people. It's not just me. We're kind of spending months unemployed and seemingly getting nowhere.
There's anxiety everywhere, people are stressed. And it's worse as it is now, and more cuts are coming.
I think it could be getting better, it should be getting better, but it's kind of a wee bit in the middle. It's not entirely the best just now.
There wasn't much in the statement to cheer people up. The growth forecast for this year has been cut in half, and to make up the shortfall in the public finances, the Chancellor is squeezing spending by an extra £14 billion. Rachel Reeves said that was down to two things she can't control: Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump.
The threat facing our continent was transformed when Putin invaded Ukraine. It has since escalated further. At the same time, the global economy has become more uncertain, bringing insecurity at home as trading patterns become more unstable and borrowing costs rise for many major economies. Mr. Speaker, the job of a responsible government is not simply to watch this change. This moment demands an active government.
Health payments within universal credit will be halved for new claimants and then frozen in future years. That will directly affect people in Scotland. The other disability cuts will hit the Scottish Government's budget in the long term by hundreds of millions of pounds.
There is a lot of instability out there, but the government are making sure we have growth in the economy. We're going further and faster on growth. We're funding our public services. And all the big decisions that were difficult decisions we made in October at the budget to invest £140 billion in our public services and our economy are feeding through now, which gives us the largest settlement for the Scottish Parliament in the history of devolution.
What we've had today is a Chancellor who's stood up and told us that the world has changed. All of us watching on know the only thing that's changed is the Labour Party. Because what they're doing is they're turning to the austerity agenda of David Cameron and George Osborne, punching down on the poorest, the most disabled in society.
The Labour government have talked about delivering growth. It's now been halved in terms of the OBR projections, and the future growth is nowhere near good enough to fund all the different projects which the government say they want to deliver.
The Liberal Democrats say the Chancellor should have found more cash by taxing the wealthy. And these protesters in Aberdeen agree.
It is ridiculous that with all of the measures available to a government to raise money on people who will not notice that missing money, that we are instead taking it from people who are among the poorest in the country.
And I commend this statement to the House.
Global turmoil has made balancing the books a tough job. Now Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer have a tougher one, getting these cuts past an unhappy Labour Party and a worried country.
Paris joins us from Westminster. So Paris, what are your main takeaways from today's statement?
Well, first of all, John, the UK government knows that it needs to change that gloomy atmosphere around the economy. It's talking up the £2.2 billion boost to defence spending and the jobs that that'll create on the Clyde and in Rosyth. Secondly, Rachel Reeves has doubled down on her growth gamble. If the economy doesn't bounce back, she'll need to make more cuts or raise taxes. Many people want her to boost borrowing. Today, she said, no way, that is not negotiable. And it's easy to see why when you learn that the UK's debt is costing taxpayers £105 billion a year. Finally, they may be controversial, but the reforms to disability payments are something that Scottish Labour are going to double down on. They believe they've laid a trap for the SNP. They can convince voters that the system in Scotland is too generous and too expensive. But that in itself is a bit of a political gamble.
Paris at Westminster, thank you. Well, from Westminster to Holyrood now for reaction from the Scottish Government and our political editor Colin Mackay. Colin, you've been speaking to the Finance Secretary.
And she was just as nonplussed by it all as you would expect. There is a slight increase in spending in Scotland, £20 million extra in the coming year. But the Prime Minister says that's on top of almost £5 billion extra from the budget last year. But there will be direct impacts of universal credit cuts to people in Scotland. The Scottish Government say they'll do all they can not to pass on the £435 million of other welfare cuts they're expecting to their budget by the end of the decade.
We're not in government to be cutting welfare spending and harming the most vulnerable in society. That is not what we want to do, and we will do absolutely everything within our power to avoid that.
So are you telling people who are getting adult disability payments in Scotland that you will not be cutting their benefits?
We will do absolutely everything within our power to avoid the harm that the UK government, the Labour government, is inflicting on the most vulnerable.
Will it impact on your plans to mitigate the two-child benefit cap?
Well, we are determined to mitigate the two-child benefit cap because it is a way, again, of lifting children out of poverty, and that is something we are committed to doing, and that is something we will do.
Do you think this is austerity?
It is austerity, but there's no other word to describe it.
Now, Labour promised to end austerity, and this might technically not be a return to austerity, but they're making it very easy for their opponents to say that it is, so you can expect all of this to play big in the Holyrood election campaign over the next year. Now, outside Parliament, in the real world, the business sector say they're worried about low economic growth and about increasing national insurance costs. And the Citizens Advice Scotland pointed out to me today that the cost of living crisis hasn't gone away. They say they're bracing themselves for the impact of all of this, because even although the Chancellor is talking things up, Citizens Advice Scotland say people are scared about the future.
Colin, in the Scottish Parliament, thank you. Scotland's most successful badminton player has called for rule changes after she was yellow carded for leaving court to deal with her period. Kirsty Gilmour had just won the second game of her match at the All England tournament when she was forced to run off court for a bathroom break. The Badminton World Federation says it allows for flexible, common-sense application of the rules, whereby players can leave the court for a toilet break at the 2-minute interval between games. Iona Brownlee has the story.
This is the moment Scotland's Kirsty Gilmour pleaded with match officials to be allowed a bathroom break. Half an hour before the match, she unexpectedly got her period, meaning that during the game she bled. She was forced to run off court and was shown a yellow card on her return for delaying play.
I did everything as quickly as I possibly could, and I wasn't given the choice of, like, if you leave you'll get a yellow card, or if you stay and essentially bleed on the court, you won't get a yellow card. So I had to choose between bleeding on the court and receiving a yellow card. It immediately put me at a disadvantage because, like I say, I'd won the most recent set, so I want to keep that momentum rolling. Like, if I have a choice, I don't want any break in play.
Now, Kirsty is calling on a change to the rules to help female athletes.
The initial problem that we run into is there's just not a protocol in place. There is no rules, so I think we're kind of making it up on the spot, and in my view, gone with the wrong decision. No person with a uterus wants to stand in front of a few thousand people and tell a person with a microphone that they are actively bleeding. Like, that's not something that someone will choose to do unless it's a real emergency. I would just like there to be some sort of protocol in place to ensure that athletes with periods are treated with some sort of dignity and leniency, because it's such a tough thing to manage and perform at a world-class level at the same time.
I think it's very sad in this day and age that we're having this conversation and that it is still having an impact. But in Scotland, we're quite fortunate. We are forward-thinking. You know, you've got free period products, things like that are happening now. So I think the conversation from those types of things makes it much more of an easier ask for young girls. And I think coaches, officials, umpires, everyone, male and female, should be aware of this and should be ready to deal with the situation in the proper manner.
The two-time Commonwealth medalist hopes she can inspire and not deter the next generation.
There's so much more support, and we are seeing so many positive changes in women's sport. Those small things that make such a difference, and I think it's quite cyclical of getting young girls and women into sports.
Iona Brownlee, STV News.
Frontline police officers in Scotland are to wear body cameras as a standard part of their uniform. The technology has been widely used by forces in England and Wales since the early 2000s. The Chief Constable says the move will help protect officers and reassure the public. The Scottish Police Federation has welcomed the move. Felicity Clifford reports.
Mate, you're not
violent threats.
Mate, what are you doing? Male with a knife, he's threatening me with a knife, he's running.
And arresting dangerous criminals. This incident in Cambridgeshire was captured on the body cameras of the police officers involved. The technology has been widely used south of the border for many years. Now all frontline uniformed officers in Scotland will wear them as a standard part of their uniform.
I think it's going to be a great addition to all aspects of operational policing. It'll give a good perspective of the situations and circumstances that we're faced with firsthand.
10,500 cameras will be issued. The Chief Constable says it was a priority for her officers to access the equipment.
People change their behaviour when they know they're being recorded, and it can often have a really, really positive impact in terms of where people are threatening, offering violence, and all of a sudden you'll see that behaviour will change.
The whole purpose of this rollout is to give police officers and members of the public protection. When activated, these cameras record incidents as they happen and can be used as evidence in court. The Scottish Police Federation, which represents rank and file officers, says it's a welcome move.
Colleagues who are accused of criminality who are suspended from duty to protect them and the organisation, but who find themselves suspended for months, if not years. And, you know, body-worn video is not the panacea here, but I am sure that if footage exists that can provide an officer account either to justify what they have said or what they have done, in some circumstances that will really expedite that process, and that will be not only to the benefit of those officers, but to the public that we're trying so hard to serve.
Police across Tayside are the first to use the cameras. Over the next 18 months, they'll be rolled out for colleagues across the country. Felicity Clifford, STV News.
Increased spending on defence may provide more work at Fergus Marine, says the First Minister. Concerns were raised about the future of the Scottish Government-owned shipyard after it missed out on contracts to build 7 new CalMac ferries. But John Swinney told a Holyrood committee Ferguson's could benefit from UK government plans to increase spending on defence and remains optimistic of a secure future for the Inverclyde yard. An iconic cultural centre facing imminent closure has secured funding that will see doors remain open until at least November. The future of Dunoon Borough Hall had been under threat, with the organisation blaming rising costs and the pandemic for a significant funding shortfall. Govan will be alive with the sound of music tonight as the town's 4th annual music festival makes some noise. Cultural regeneration is the theme, and it's bringing a mix of genres to the programme, reflecting the people who live there. This year's event showcases around 300 musicians and participants, including pupils from across Govan's primary schools. Brahim Cham has more.
2. Govan's very own orchestra, going through final rehearsals ahead of tonight's opening concert. They are all professional musicians from across the city, but they volunteer their time for charity. and form the Glasgow Barons. Composers and instrumentalists are aiming to perfect every note as months of work finally come to life.
So the piece I've written for the Glasgow Barons is called Winter, and that's an accordion concerto that I wrote for Neil Sutcliffe. The accordion is very much in the foreground, showing off, doing all sorts of flashy things. So it's really great to see it come to life today in rehearsals ahead of the concert tomorrow in Govan.
For the next few days, the string of events is showcasing genres such as world music, classical and rap, reflecting Govan's cultural diversity.
Classical audiences will come to an event and then come to a hip-hop event later because we will cross-market. And then people from the world music event for musicians in exile will explore the classical event as well. So we know that people do this, and we know that they experience new kinds of music making that they haven't personally experienced before through the Govan Music Festival.
At the Fairfield Social Club, local primary school choirs are kicking off the festival with folk songs about the city and its heritage.
Well, we're actually doing two songs, Die With A Smile and Swing on a Star. I can sing and we can all have a nice time singing. I feel really happy because we do both get to do solo parts in the song, so yeah, that's really good. I think it's really important, and it's respecting our schools' mottos, challenge, believe, learn and achieve, and it's really important to us in our school, and it feels really proud and happy.
Govan is making itself heard through music with a loud statement about its regeneration and identity. As the new Govan Partick Bridge opens up fresh connections between the two communities, organizers are bridging fans of classical music, hip-hop and flamenco dancing, bringing out the very own legends of Govan throughout the festival. Rahim Cham, STV News, Govan.
Kenny McCaskill is the new leader of the Ullapa Party. The former Justice Secretary takes over from Alex Salmond, who died last year. Mr McCaskill narrowly defeated Ullapa MSP Ash Regan in the contest to lead the pro-independence party into next year's Holyrood election.
Alba is a vote for independence, but it's also a vote for Alex Salmond. It's his memory our party will deliver and conclude his journey to an independent Scotland where we can actually benefit from the resources off our shores and on our hills.
To the sport now, here's Ronnie, and you're starting with rugby, Ronnie.
Yes, the British and Irish Lions, John. It's a prestigious event, of course, in the rugby calendar. Every 4 years, it's round this year. And the big questions, are there going to be any Scots in it? We've been speaking to one player who's hopeful, and there's definitely going to be a coach there.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
Good evening. Scotland's Tom Jordan says it would be one of the biggest moments of his career if he's selected for the British and Irish Lions tour later this year. Jordan scored his first tries for his country in the Six Nations and is in contention for the squad, made up of players from all the home nations. Meanwhile, Scotland coach John Dalziel has been selected as part of the coaching staff for the tour in Australia, which gets underway this summer.
Support on the inside is there, and it's Tom Jordan.
He was a shining light for Scotland in the Six Nations, and now Tom Jordan has his sights set on becoming a Lion. With the squad announced in May, the fullback is hoping to impress head coach Andy Farrell and fulfil a lifelong dream.
It's pretty self-explanatory how big of a thing that is for anyone in their career, and obviously Xander being here, Ali Price before, I was at the club when they got announced, and that was such a big thing for the club, so I remember that quite well, to be fair. But no, I think it's such a special team every 4 years, and then being from New Zealand originally, obviously they only play the Lions once every 12 years, so it's such a huge thing for all those countries. And yeah, obviously being able, if you were ever able to represent that team would be huge. It's probably one of the biggest things in rugby, to be fair.
One Scot who definitely will feature in the Lions tour is Scotland coach John Dalziel. He's been selected as part of Farrell's staff. Meanwhile, as the dust settles on Scotland's Six Nations campaign, Jordan admits their fourth-place finish is still hard to take. But, says Gregor Townsend's men aren't far off reaching their full potential.
You know, it's tough to... I mean, you're always going to look at where you place, but I think overall, I think there were good steps forward, and I think we're playing some really great rugby. I hope everyone can kind of see we were, got some great tries, and I think that going forward, we've got the little things we need to work on, but I think it's only a few little things, and then I think we can really push to be a really great side.
Elsewhere, fellow Scotland player Gregor Brown has signed a new deal with the Glasgow Warriors and is looking to build on last year's URC title.
Glasgow, I grew up supporting Glasgow. Watched the boys win the trophy in 2015, and to be involved in that win last year against the Bulls, it was words can't really describe what it meant to me. And yeah, so it was a pretty easy decision. I'm really looking forward to kicking on over the next couple of years.
To football, and Hearts are awaiting news on the extent of the injury sustained by defender Gerald Taylor during Costa Rica's victory over Belize last night. Reports in Taylor's homeland suggest the player, who had knee surgery earlier this season, picked up a fresh knee strain in the first half. Meanwhile, winger Yataro Oda has left Hearts to return to Japan. The 23-year-old has joined J-League side Shonan Bellmare on a permanent deal. Dunfermline are set to sign former Celtic midfielder Victor Wanyama as Neil Lennon lines up a reunion with the Kenyan international. The 33-year-old is undergoing a medical ahead of his move to East End Park until the end of the season. He spent 2 years working under Lennon at Parkhead, where he won 2 league titles and 1 Scottish Cup. Now to the title in the women's game, and Glasgow City head coach Leanne Ross says she's still fully confident her side have what it takes to go on and win the double this season. Despite a late defeat to Hibs last time out, which meant City dropped to third, 2 points off the top, Ross says they have the quality and experience to make this a season to remember.
Every game is crucial now for every team. The positions in the league table can change after every round of fixtures. We're all playing against each other all the time, so yeah, every game's crucial. So we know how important it is, and we're focused and ready to go and fight as hard as we need to make sure that we're the ones that come off with 3 points. I believe that we've assembled a really strong squad this season, and we're confident that we've got the squad that can go and really compete and push it right to the very end.
Finally, Scottish cycling hopeful Sean Flynn says he'll be giving it his all to be on the starting line when the Tour de France rolls into his hometown of Edinburgh. Flynn is climbing the rankings after only moving to the road racing 2 years ago, and believes he can fly the flag for Scotland when the world's most famous bike race comes to the capital. He's been speaking to Jamie Borthwick.
Speeding through the streets on a journey he hopes takes him all the way home. Sean Flynn is on the road to competing at the Tour de France, with the prestigious event starting on his own doorstep in 2027.
I feel like it's almost still not sunk in that it's going to be in Edinburgh. I think until it's there, it'll still seem a bit like a dream. I didn't think it was possible to be more motivated to go to the Tour ever. I'm going to be, giving it my absolute best over the next couple of years. In order to really earn my spot there.
Flynn and his compatriot Oscar Onley, who ride together for the Dutch team Picnic, are currently the only Scottish men racing on the World Tour level.
I definitely feel the responsibility to try and carry that flag, and I hope to be able to be at a level where I can not only just be there and be one of the guys who's at that level.
Flynn races in Italy, Belgium and France in the coming weeks as he builds up to gaining more experience on the Grand Tours this summer.
Before I was actually in these races, it was so exciting to have the possibility to watch, and so to make people happy like that is really nice. But I really think that the atmosphere there in Scotland is going to be incredible.
There's a way to go yet, but the Saltire could well be flying from the peloton as well as the crowds when the Tour de France comes to Scotland in 2 years' time. Jamie Borthwick, STV Sport.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
That's all tonight, John. Best of luck to Sean. Have a good day.
Absolutely. This Tour de France thing it's getting bigger. I hear people talking about it all the time.
Get your berry ready for the Tour de France. I've got my bike sorted. It's going to be cracking. Absolutely
cracking. To that. Okay. Thank you for that. Let's get to the weather, which might not be so good for the Tour de France. Here's Sean.
An icy start to the day will give way to a series of oohs and ahs. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Very good evening to you. We've had a wee bit of sunshine poking through the clouds occasionally today, especially across southern and eastern parts, but thicker cloud coming into the northwest, and that's ahead of this band of rain, which will start to come in during tonight, and tomorrow is looking very wet in some spots. So overnight tonight we'll see that thicker cloud bring outbreaks of rain in across the Highlands, much of Argyll and Bute, perhaps into Lanarkshire and Glasgow by the end of the night as well. Parts of Ayrshire seeing some shower outbreaks of rain. It will be a mild one. Temperatures are probably going to hold around 10 degrees in the southwest tonight. That's about 50 degrees in Fahrenheit. So picking up on that rainfall tomorrow, the weather front grinding to a halt across Stirlingshire and also Argyll and Bute, the Highlands, so it will be very wet here through the whole day. Some bright colours, so some of the rain will be heavy as well. And we'll see some of that heavy rain moving into central and southern parts a little bit later on in the afternoon. But probably the further south we hang on to drier weather until later on, but we will see that heavy rain. So all parts heavy rain by the end of the day. But yes, particularly wet, that pink shade, even taking in parts of Renfrewshire, Inverclyde and Bartonshire. We could see about an inch of rain falling, and in the yellow shaded areas, so around the likes of Ardnamurchan, Lorne and Lochaber here, particularly wet, could get about 2 inches of rain falling through tomorrow. On Friday, back to sunshine and showers. The bulk of the showers in the west, a blustery wind, then more heavy rain on Saturday. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And that's all from us tonight. From all of us here, thank you for watching. Don't forget Scotland Tonight at 10:40. Have a good night.